Hey guys, it's Chris again. We are at the summer conference for the South Carolina Beekeeping Association, and with me I've got Dr. Tarpy. Dr. Tarpy, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed your stay here. I know
It's
you've
been
done a
an
few
amazing
talks.
meeting, amazing conference.
Good. Yeah, unfortunately I've only been able to be here today, but I've heard a lot of great feedback about your talks, and it's just great that you were able to make this trip.
Yeah, it's really excellent to have the conversation, and you can use the barometer of the questions that one gets
Right.
as a measure of the quality of the attendees. And this has just been an outstanding meeting in that way.
Gotcha. Well, as you know, the theme of this year is past, present, future. We're celebrating 50 years as an association, which is really awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And so our talk is just going to focus around those three things. Okay. So first thing, we're going to look at the past. And as someone who has extensively studied honeybee behavior and genetics, and I'm sure you've studied a whole other host of other facts about them, what early discoveries for yourself or just in the beekeeping world in general did you find to be the most surprising or the most groundbreaking?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, maybe I guess immediately my thoughts go to the dance language,
Yeah.
right? Where about 50 years ago, a Nobel Prize in physiology and medicine went to the researcher who is largely attributed to having discovered the dance language. So the dance language is very famous for being the only other abstract form of communication in the animal kingdom other than human language, because they are communicating the distance and direction of a newly found food source to other individuals that have never been there, but they're doing it indirectly in the dark of a hive using the sun as a compass. And so by them discovering and really elucidating that entire phenomenon, it just really shows how complex and fascinating honeybees are.
Yeah, and Mr. Ed and I were talking earlier, and I just had the recent, like in the last 6 months, kind of epiphany that, like you just said, they're doing all this in the dark,
Correct.
which is just mind blowing that that's even possible.
Well, and it just and even so, their eyesight is really poor.
Yeah.
And so while they have good color vision, they can detect movement very well. It's not really their windows to their world. The way that they communicate and they understand their universe is through their sense of smell,
Right.
which is it's twice as good as the smell of dogs, who are famous for having really good noses. So honeybees are just amazingly sensitive to chemicals in their environment, and that's how they're able to really make their way through the world.
All right. So let's look at current, okay, the present. What is the most exciting current research project you're working on or you're involved in some way, and what's the potential impact for beekeepers?
So right now, a major paradigm in our lab is to try to understand the mechanisms of supersedure. So supersedure is when a colony replaces its old mother queen with a new queen without swarming, right? So it's just queen replacement rather than colony reproduction. And beekeepers, at least anecdotally, we don't have good baseline data on it, but beekeepers will say that queens are supposed to live 3, 4, 5 years, and they're not living that long.
No.
They're being superseded prematurely. And so it's an issue because every time a colony replaces its queen, things can go wrong, and it can have these cascading problems that results in those colonies being 3 times higher likelihood of dying because of these stressors that they experience. So it's a real issue for bees and beekeeping. But the way that a colony decides to take a queen and replace her is this collective decision that we know nothing about. But it's central to this idea of queens being replaced prematurely. And so we're getting to the bottom of that, trying to understand, well, what is it that the workers are keying in on? And once we understand that, what triggers that collective decision, we might be able to mitigate that so that they're not getting rid of queens that are still perfectly fine in an effort to improve our colony.
Do you have any hypothesis of what's going on with that, or is it still in the
So
testing
we
phase?
have several hypotheses, and as you might imagine, it's very complicated. But
course.
what our research and others have been suggesting is that it's not the queen's pheromones, although they are important in all of this. It's really the brood pheromone.
Hmm.
So the brood, the larvae,
Yeah.
produce different pheromones and smells themselves that are communicating to the nurse bees and others. And it acts as a secondary fecundity signal of the queen. So if there's lots of brood smell in the colony, well, the queen must be good. If there's not that smell, well, something might be wrong with the queen. And so we think it's part of that kind of secondary communication structure that's going on in the colony that is kind of dictating this hive mind to get rid of the queen. And so if we can hack into that in a way, they won't replace good queens. And the flip side of that is that sometimes they don't get rid of bad queens
Right.
when we want them to. And so if we understand that whole process a little more, I think that can really help beekeepers.
Okay. All right, let's go to the future.
Okay.
Right. So, with all the focus on these bee related issues, I'm thinking about earlier this year with the commercial beekeeping die off that we saw. Where do you see the greatest potential for a scientific breakthrough?
To me, the future lies in breeding and genetics of our queens and of our stock. And part of that is we've been doing bee breeding literally for millennia, right?
Right.
Passively and then more actively. But the advent of genomics and understanding the genetic sequence of honeybees, which we've known for almost 20 years now, that is starting to pay off by accelerating our ability to breed using marker assisted selection and other things. It used to be to breed honeybee colonies, you had to mate the queens, breed the queens, wait for them to grow up to colony level, measure the colony, and then, see what happens. If we can go the other way, where we can understand the genes behind these traits of interest, we can just simply select for those genetic lines rather than having to wait to have them grow up to colony size and take years to do, right? So it can accelerate that. It can be a lot more targeted to the genes that are responsible for the traits that we want. So Varroa resistance, being able to tamp down some of these viruses within colonies, other diseases, and then of course, honey yield, defensiveness, other traits that are of interest. So I really think the future lies in the genetic breeding of our bees.
Okay. That's honestly, there's 1,000 questions I could ask you about that. We'll save that for another time.
Okay.
So let's do a quick this or that. Okay. So, or would you rather? I'm gonna give you a couple options. Some of them are, both of them are great. Some of them, both of them are not so great. So, starting off with sourwood honey or orange blossom honey.
So believe it or not, in North Carolina, sourwood is the Cadillac honey, but orange blossom is my favorite. It is. Although sourwood has really grown on me.
Yeah, it's honestly,
I've really grown to like it, but orange blossom is still my favorite.
Yeah, so sourwood's my favorite. My wife, it's orange blossom.
Gotcha.
There you go. All right, couple southern beekeeper questions for you. Beekeeping in the rain or beekeeping in the heat?
Which would I prefer?
Yeah, you have to do one or the other.
Beekeeping in the rain.
Yeah?
I overheat very quickly.
Right.
And so the heat of the summer just is really tough. And in fact, it's starting to become like a health issue for me and my crew. They do much more of the beekeeping than I do, the field work. So we start at like 6 a.m. and try to wrap up by noon when the heat index is 100 or over. Right? It is a real issue. And then beekeeping in the rain, the bees might be a little more defensive, but I'll take that over heat exhaustion.
I think I agree with you, to be honest with you. It gets triple digits here in South Carolina during summer. I don't like the rain. I don't like being wet, but I can deal with that a little bit better.
That's right.
All right. So kind of the same vein here. Full bee suit or just the veil?
I don't even do that.
Really?
So I wear racquetball because I'm a racquetball player. I wear my racquetball goggles.
Oh, okay.
And I just go in with shorts and a t-shirt, I might get stung on the head or the ear or something like that every once in a while. I just refuse to get stung in the eye.
Yeah.
But wearing the whole, even the veil, just makes it really, really hot.
Yeah.
And so now again, because we do a lot of work with queens, we do a lot of work in mating nukes. And so these are very small units, and so you can get away with that. If we're shaking packages or doing something really disruptive, no, it's the full suit.
Okay.
But yeah, I try to minimize the amount of protective gear, staying safe, but
yes.
just to avoid the overheating, just because it is such an issue.
That makes sense. All right. Last one is going to be peanut butter and honey sandwich or biscuit and honey.
I'd have to say biscuit and honey.
I
mean, on peanut butter, I mean, that's, put your hands together on that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The saltiness of a good biscuit with honey, yes. All right. So looking forward to the future again, right? The next generation of beekeepers. If there's one thing that you want them to focus on, what would it be?
Sustainability. We need to have beekeepers realize that beekeeping is active citizenry, and beekeepers that choose to do nothing should get out of beekeeping, because it's causing the bees to suffer and then spread their problems to their neighbors. That's not gonna do anybody any good. And so we need to focus on managing our bees, but doing it sustainably and doing it in a way that's good for the welfare of the bees, not just our own, but everybody's. So if we can collectively come together and realize that we're all in this together, and we all have a responsibility to be good stewards of bees and beekeeping, that's where it's going to have to go. We need to come together more now and in the future. Otherwise, all of these problems are just going to build up to the point where it's going to be, exceedingly difficult.
That's it from the South Carolina Beekeeping Association. Dr. Tarpy, really appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care.